So I had the chance to see Miami corner Tyrique Stevenson play at the Senior Bowl, and he had a phenomenal week. So when the Chicago Bears drafted him, I was over the moon. I mean, we're talking about an outrageously athletic press man corner that's balanced in his stance, uses his hands well, doesn't just throw them at his receiver, and is able to keep his feet under him with really solid foot frequency, which lets him attack comeback routes, attack inside routes, and stay at pace with routes down the field, just like this one against North Carolina. Where his athleticism really shines, though, is in how good he is at managing the spatial relationship between him and his wide receiver, consistently staying on top of deeper attacking routes, just like this one you saw against Alabama and the next few in this clip. But whether it's physicality, whether it's footwork, he uses every tool he has to consistently stay on top of his receiver, which either challenges the quarterback or, like you see on this RPO, snuffs out a throw altogether and forces a complete change in play. You can also see flashes of what makes him so explosive when inside-outside routes like this one right here don't seem to phase him, and he's able to keep pace and, again, force a perfect throw if you're going to make a throw like the one Bryce Young just did. His long speed also isn't a concern like it is for a lot of bigger corners, as he's able to keep pace with just about anybody down the field, and I really am impressed with his balanced approach where you consistently see not just a footwork corner, but continued physicality, even if he's a little too grabby at times, which, hey, I'd rather coach it out of him than try to coach it into him. And occasionally, even when he's beat, he stays competitive enough to force a perfect throw, which, as you saw, Bryce Young just missed to Jamison Williams. He's heady in zone, though zone wasn't Miami's strongest suit, and even has a little bit of inside versatility that you see here, challenging a throw that is able to get through, and then another one right here where he's able to make a better break on a tipped ball and almost comes away with an interception. He's a heady player that has all the tools this Bears cover 2 defense is looking for, and I'm really excited to see how he grows. He was a stud in Mobile. Stevenson's size, speed, and physicality let him be a pretty solid run defender too, with one catch, but we'll get to the catch later. It's pretty much mandatory in a cover 2 defense that you're able to read and react to underneath throws, and Stevenson flashes his athleticism well, plus when he needs to hit a blocker, like you see right here, he can set the edge, flip back, and make a tackle. He shows a lot of the athletic tools that you want to see in a plus run defender, even if maybe he wasn't always consistent while he was at Miami in doing so. In particular, it's his ability to drive blockers back, like you again see right here, and yes, trigger downhill while needing to make a tackle, that I'd like to see from a corner, because there are a lot of corners that won't really do it. It's nice to see him use that length. A lot of bigger, longer guys, I'm looking at you, Joey Porter, and frankly even Christian Gonzalez, just don't really want to get involved in the run game, and Stevenson does not seem to have that problem. Now, as you can see, he threw his shoulder around a lot, might have led to his labrum issue, but we'll talk about that in the next section. Because it's time to talk about that catch I mentioned earlier. See, Stevenson has some thunderous hits, but he's not always balanced as a tackler and throws his shoulder around a lot, leading to some pretty heinous tackle misses and a 17.1% missed tackle rate throughout his time in school. This isn't good. I mean, it amounts to usually about 1 massive tackle miss per game that leads to extra yards in both the run and the passing game, touchdowns in some cases, and feels like it would be fixable by just teaching the guy to wrap up decently. And I mean, I get it, he's not missing every tackle, you've still got those flashes in the run game from last section, but it is kind of funny seeing how often this guy will flat out miss a tackle like this one over the middle, where he just throws his shoulder out and can't bring the receiver down. Josh Downs gets in for a score. But aside from tackling, consistency is really the only thing I want to see Stevenson improve at. His edge sitting is great when it's good, but occasionally he'll let the quarterback run to the edge. Occasionally he'll lose his balance in coverage like you see here, and had the throw been any better, that could have been a huge play. Occasionally he'll leave too much cushion in his zone play, but it's always hard to tell whether or not this is more of a Miami defensive coaching problem, like as you see right here, him and 23 across the field both drop to the same depth in zone coverage despite an obvious underneath receiver, or if it's it's more of a Stevenson question, though I don't know. This looks like cover 2 to me, and the safety is absolutely nowhere near the play, though I would love for him to be a little more competitive on what looks like it was cover 3 here, though again, he's sold out by his safety. But inconsistency doesn't really surprise me with Stevenson if you know his story. For those who don't, he was originally recruited at Georgia, though he had an offer from Miami. He played for Kirby Smart, which is no small feat, but Kirby wanted him to play what's called the star role, which is a hybrid nickel corner and linebacker role, and he ended up wanting to play more outside corner after 2 years of playing for Georgia and making 4 starts with the program. So he transfers back to Miami, where Manny Diaz is still coaching and had originally recruited him in the original cycle, only for Diaz to immediately get fired after Stevenson's first year with the team, and along comes Mario Cristobal, who, hey, his All-22 is not easy to get. All the All-22 you've seen here has been 2021, but also Cristobal's first season doesn't go phenomenally well, and his defensive coordinator ends up leaving at the end of the season, meaning Stevenson spent 2 seasons at Miami under 2 different defensive coordinators, and neither of them were deemed particularly successful. Now, don't get me wrong, traditionally speaking, defensive change doesn't matter as much for outside corners whose roles translate better to other systems than, say, a safety, because we saw poor safety play just a little earlier in the video. But I can't help envisioning that all this turnover and all this change and new coaches in and out, that's 3 programs across just a handful of years, would create a lot of the inconsistencies that we saw in Stevenson's game, because he didn't have one way to do things that was taught to him by one set of coaches like some of the other guys in the draft. Look, there's always going to be a little bit of projection and a little bit of translation that we have to think about when we're talking about a draft prospect, but with Stevenson's physical toolkit, a lot of the moxie we see from him in coverage, his hand usage, the fact that he can do a little bit of everything and still has the mentality to come up and fit the run, even if, again, he needs to work on his tackling, I'm really excited to see what he's going to become in Matt Eberflus's defense, and he's a great weapon to add to a DB room that sorely needed another outside corner. I really like the pick. If you like breakdown videos like this, let me know, leave a like on the video, comment on it, let me know what you think could improve about these kinds of things. I want to put out more content like this, and every like and comment helps us grow the channel and get the word out to more NFL fans across the league. Thanks so much for watching. Next up, let's break down Packers' brand new quarterback, Jordan Love. See you in the next one.